Okay, folks, welcome to another deep dive. You know how sometimes, like when you're speaking English, those little words a, and that can just trip you up? Like a cat versus the cat, or I love the mountains feels good, but I love the pizza. It just sounds so weird. And I swear, every time I get to an hour in a university, I have to stop and think.
Oh, yeah. It's super common to feel a bit unsure about those little words. They're called articles,
hmm
and they can definitely be tricky. Even though they seem small, they make a huge difference in how we understand stuff in English.
Right, like they have this hidden power. So in this deep dive, we are on a mission, people. We're going to crack the code of ah, and the, and also, maybe even more importantly, we're going to find out when we can just skip them all together and still sound like a native speaker.
Awesome. So let's start with the basics. We have and at, right?
Yep.
These are what we use when we're talking about any single thing, but not something specific. So like, I saw a bird. Doesn't matter what bird, just any bird.
Okay, that makes sense. And then we have the. We use this when we're talking about something specific, something we already know about. So if I say, did you feed the dog? I'm talking about your dog, right? Not just any random dog out there.
Exactly. It's all about that shared understanding, like we both know what we're talking about.
Okay, cool. And then there's when we don't use any article at all. Like if I say I enjoy books, I'm not talking about any particular books. I'm talking about books in general, the concept of books.
Right. That's the zero article. It's like we're zooming out and talking about the big picture, not just one specific thing.
That's actually really interesting. Like the choice of whether or not to use an article changes the whole meaning of what we're saying.
Totally. It can make it more general or more specific. Like think about food. I had the pizza means a specific pizza, probably one we were talking about earlier. But if I say I had pizza, well, it could be any pizza.
Oh, yeah. Like I went to the store versus I went to store. We wouldn't really say I went to store now, but I guess it would be more like the idea of going shopping, not a particular place.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Yeah.
store as this abstract concept.
Yeah.
That reminds me of how hospital is used differently in the US and the UK.
Oh, yeah. Like in the US, it's almost always the hospital. You're talking about a specific building.
Right. But in the UK, you'll often hear she's in hospital, like it's more of a state of being, you know, not just a building.
That's so cool. It's like those little words change how we think about things. And speaking of history, I learned that Old English had way more articles than we do now. Like words like say and at.
That's right. So in a way, we've actually simplified things.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always feel simple when you're trying to figure out if it's or an or the or nothing at all.
I know. But okay, let's dig a little deeper into the because it seems like it's all about the shared understanding, right? Like both the speaker and the listener know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Like if you're in the kitchen with your friend and you say, pass me the knife, you both know which knife you're talking about. You don't have to point or anything.
But if you just walked into a room full of strangers and said, pass me the knife, they'd probably freak out.
Huh. Exactly. You have to use the when it's clear what you're referring to.
Okay, that makes sense. And then with A and N, it's like you're introducing something new. Like if I say, I read a really interesting article this morning, you have no idea what article I'm talking about because I haven't mentioned it before.
Exactly. A and N are for things that are new to the conversation, like you're adding a new piece of information.
All right, so let's get down to business. The big question A versus an. It's not just about whether the next word starts with a vowel or a consonant, right?
Right. It's about the sound of the next word. Like, why do we say an hour when hour starts with an H? Because the H is silent, so the word actually starts with a vowel sound.
Got it. So it's an hour because it sounds like it starts with a vowel, even though it's spelled with a consonant. And then what about a university? It starts with a U, which is a vowel, but we don't say an university.
Right. That's because university actually starts with a consonant sound. It's that Y sound at the beginning.
Oh, I see. So it's all about what you hear, not just what you see. It has to flow smoothly. So, okay, what about when we don't use any article at all? We've talked about I love dogs, meaning dogs in general. When else do we skip a, and the?
Well, we often use the zero article with uncountable nouns, like advice or information. It's like
Hmm.
you can't have one advice or two informations, right?
Right. That would sound so strange. Can I have an advice, please? No, you'd say, can I have some advice? Or just, I need advice.
Exactly. And we also use the zero article with general concepts or abstract nouns like
Mm.
love, happiness, freedom, those kinds of things.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get this. But are there like times when even native speakers aren't sure whether to use an article or not?
Oh, for sure. Language is messy.
Yeah.
It's not always black and white, like with place names.
hmm
We say, I'm going to the library, but I'm going home. No, the before home.
Why is that? What's the rule there?
Well, Home has become more like an adverb almost. It's more about direction than a specific place. And we do the same thing with school and work, like I'm going to school or I'm going to work.
But we do say, I'm going to the office, right?
Yeah, because office is still a specific place.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about the general idea of going to work, we often drop the.
It's pretty subtle. And what about country names? Sometimes we use the and sometimes we don't, like the United States, the Netherlands, but just France or Italy. Is there a pattern there?
There is. Usually if a country's name is plural or includes a common noun that implies a political structure like republic or kingdom, then we use the, like the United Arab Emirates, the Czech Republic, the United Kingdom.
The United Kingdom, because it's made up of multiple countries.
Exactly. But for singular country names like Canada or Brazil, we don't usually use the.
Okay, that's really helpful. So we've covered a lot of ground here. But for our listener, what's a good way to really get better at using articles besides just memorizing all the rules?
The best way is just to practice. Pay attention to how native speakers use articles and try to use them yourself. One tip is to think about if you could replace the noun with one, like I need a pen. Could you say I need one pen?
Yeah, that sounds natural. But if you said, I need the pen, it would have to be a specific pen that you both already know about.
Right. And for the, just ask yourself, does the listener know which specific thing I'm talking about? If the answer is yes, use the. If not, maybe need a or an, or maybe no article at all.
One of our listeners actually shared a really cool tip. They said they started narrating their day out loud, just to themselves and paying attention to every time they used an article. And they would ask themselves, why am I using this article? Does it sound right?
That's fantastic. It's a great way to make yourself more aware of how you're using language.
So for our listeners this week, how about a couple of challenges? First, take a simple sentence like, I saw a car. Try adding a and the, so you have I saw a car and I saw the car. How do those little words change the meaning of the sentence? What picture do you get in your mind?
Think about what you're trying to communicate in each version. Does it imply something different about the situation?
Next, look at some headlines from news websites. Pay attention to which nouns have articles and which ones don't. Do you think there's a reason for that?
News headlines are all about being concise, so they're really strategic about which words they use and which ones they leave out.
Okay, and finally, for a little fun, try this. Ask someone, would you like the tea or tea? And see if they get confused.
It's a silly little experiment, but it shows you how our brains are always working to make sense of language, even those little words that we usually don't even think about.
I love it. And you know, it really shows how those little words have a big impact. Like you could say, I need the Wi-Fi if you're trying to connect to a specific network. But if you just say, I need Wi-Fi, it means you need internet access in general.
Yeah. It's amazing how much difference a tiny word can make.
So to sum up, use the when you're talking about something specific. Use a or n when you're introducing something new and make sure it sounds right. And don't be afraid to ditch the articles altogether when you're talking about general things.
And here's a bonus tip. Next time you hear someone say, I'm going to the bed, you'll know they could probably just say bed.
Awesome. So before we wrap things up, here's something to think about. Those tiny words, a, n, and the, are like little filters that we use to understand the world. It's not just about grammar, it's about how we think and communicate.
That's a great way to put it. They really do shape our understanding of things.
And you know what? Speaking of cool linguistic stuff, next time on Deep Dive, we are going to explore the wild world of short words in English. You know those contractions like gonna, wanna, kinda? Why do we use them? Are they even real words?
We get a lot of hate, but they're actually fascinating from a linguistic perspective. We'll take a deep dive into their history and how they work.
Sounds good. So until then, keep practicing those articles, and we'll see you on the next Deep Dive.